Hi guys, I'm Darko and welcome back to another brand new video. Today I'm here to show you how to create from scratch competitive ready Pokémons with 6 IVs, the EVs you want, the moves you want, ability and nature in Pokémon Fire Red and Leaf Green Switch version using the Ace. Bringing you this kind of content requires a lot of study and time, so if you enjoy it, please consider subscribing to the channel to support me. If you still don't have the Ace set up, please go watch my video where I teach you how to enable it in Pokémon Fire Red and Leaf Green Switch version, and if you run into any problems during the setup, don't hesitate to leave a comment. But if you have already everything set up, let's continue with this video. Today we're going to build a competitive Aerodactyl from scratch, and I want to mention that this guide will be longer than the others because, as you can probably imagine, there isn't a single code for this. So I decided to split it into several steps, some of which are optional depending on the result you want. The first step today is actually an optional one, and you should only follow it if you want to obtain a shiny Pokémon, which is obviously not important for the competitive aspect of the Pokémon, but is still part of its aesthetic. The first thing to do is move to this website. I'll leave the link in the description, and all the credit for creating this goes to Papa F and his team, so make sure to check out his channel. Let me quickly explain how this website works and what's it for if you're new. Through this website we can generate the codes that our in-game Ace will execute. The first thing you need to do is move to the top left and select the Switch version of your Pokémon game, making sure to choose the correct language. In my case, I select English, and in the column next to it, you select your in-game version. In my case, it's Pokémon Fire Red. At this point, as you can see, the website is divided into two sections. In the block on the left, we'll find the instructions and the setup, while on the right side, the machine will print the code that we need to enter in-game. Now, move to the drop-down menu next to it and select Replace TID with SID. This code replaces the trainer's TID with their SID, so that these two numbers become the same, which means the future eggs we obtain in the next steps will always result in shiny Pokémon. All that's left is press compute, and the site will print on the right side the code that we need to enter as the name of our boxes to obtain the desired result. This code is not the same for everyone, so make sure to follow these steps and generate your own instead of copy mine. At this point, let's move into the game and enter the code we were given. To do this, simply go to the box and change the box name following exactly the characters that were printed by the website. Remember not to insert empty characters after the end of the code, just press Start and then A to finish. Once all the required boxes have been renamed, the only thing left to do is place our Ace in box 13 slot 2 and place any Pokémon next to it in box 13 slot 1. Whenever you move or interact with your Ace, always remember to interact with it using the yellow end. To do this, just press Y on your joystick. Finally, remember to always keep box 13 empty. And if before this you executed another longer code, replace the unnecessary box names with a simple A. At this point, to activate the code, you just need to pick the Pokémon placed next to the Ace and perform a double swap just like I'm doing right now. Once that's done, go to your trainer card and check that your trainer ID has changed. What you see there is now both your trainer ID and your secret ID, and you may want to write it down because we'll need it later. At this point, step 1 is complete and we can move into the first mandatory step of this guide, step 2. While I explain the second step, let's move back to the website and select from the drop-down menu Create 6 IV eggs from nothing. As the name suggests, this code allows us to create from scratch an egg of any Pokémon with 6 IVs, shiny if you follow the previous step, and with the ability and nature that we want. So let's start following the instructions shown on the website and make sure that box 10 slot 2 is empty, because the egg that will be created will be deposited here. In the line Species below, replace the word Pokémon with the name of the Pokémon you want, and make sure to click its name once it appears in the drop-down menu so that it gets replaced with its index number. Move further down and in the ability line select 0 if you want your Pokémon's mainstream ability or 1 if you want the hidden ability. Keep scrolling and choose the origin game of your Pokémon. In this case, if we want it to be legitimate for Pokémon Home, we must select Pokémon Fire Red or Leaf Green. In my case, it's Pokémon Fire Red, so I copy the code related to Fire Red and paste it into the metadata line. Now, As the site tells us, we press compute and generate on the right side the code that we need to enter in-game. If we selected ability 0, an egg will appear that is not yet your final egg to hatch, because the correct nature is still missing. If instead we selected ability 1, a shiny Pokémon without a name will appear, which as you can imagine is not yet our final Pokémon. Let's move into the game and enter the code. Once finished, perform the double swap with the ace to activate it, and as you can see, if we move to box 10 slot 2, we can find our egg or Pokémon. Now, move it to box 3 slot 1 using the yellow end. What we still need to do is determine the nature of our Pokémon through the mail glitch. So, let's go back to the website and open this link. Now, don't get scared, stay with me and you'll see that it's actually very simple. It's all about understanding where to look. If you selected ability number 0 for your Pokémon, then you need to refer to this section of the website. If instead you choose ability number 1, refer to this other section. In my case, I choose ability number 1, so I look at the section for ability number 1. I want my Aerodactyl to have a jolly nature, so I move to jolly and refer to a single row. In my case, I know that to give the Pokémon the jolly nature, I need to insert the word disaster in my mail glitch taken from the feeling section. Now, let's move back into the game and prepare the mail glitch by equipping 5 retro mails to our Pokémon with only the word Abra, and on the 6th Pokémon, equip the retro mail. You'll see the question marks and insert in the first 4 slots the word we found, searching for it in the indicated sections. Once done, give the mail to the Pokémon and that's it. We can hatch our egg, so take it from box 3 and hatch it quickly. As you can see, an Aerodactyl hatched from the egg and is level 5, jolly nature, hidden ability, 6 AVs and no moves. At this point we're halfway through our journey. We still need to change the EVs of our Pokémon and teach it the best moves in order to make it a competitive Pokémon. I recommend saving the game at this point. Now, in order to change our Pokémon's EVs, we need to collect some data that we'll need. The PID, the TID and the SID of our Pokémon. So, let's move to the website and this time select Read Pokémon PID from the drop-down menu. As we can read, this is a very simple code that allows us to read our Pokémon's PID through a temporary modification to its stats. This modification is completely reversible simply by depositing the Pokémon into a box. Click compute without entering anything and then insert the code we're given into the game boxes. Before running it, move our Aerodactyl to the 2nd slot of our party as requested by the website. Go back to the PC and perform a double swap to run the code. As you can see, our Pokémon's stats have changed. Now we need to report these values back into the website, making sure to place them into the correct lines. And once entered, press compute again. At this point, the machine will print our Pokémon's PID. I recommend taking a photo of it or writing down so you don't lose it, because we'll need it later. Now we can deposit our Pokémon back into the boxes to restore its stats. The next step is to find our Pokémon's TID and SID, and if you made your Pokémon shiny by following the first optional step of this video, you already know the TID and SID of your Pokémon. You just need to go to your trainer card and your TID and SID will be the same. In my case, both TID and SID are 27773, so you can skip this step. If instead you didn't follow the first step and obtained a non-shiny Pokémon, then you need to find your TID and SID for your Pokémon. To do this, go back to the website and select Read Pokémon TID and SID from the drop-down menu. The procedure is similar to the previous step. Click Compute, print the code and insert it into your boxes. Before running it, place your Pokémon in the 2nd slot of your party, go to the box and perform the double swap to activate the code. Check your Pokémon stats and report them exactly as you see them on the website. Once done, press compute and you'll obtain your Pokémon's TID and SID. Return to the game and deposit the Pokémon into the box to restore its stats. At this point, we have all the necessary datas, PID, SID and TID, and we can move on to the second to last step, modifying the EVs. Let's return to the website and from the drop-down menu select Change EVs. The first thing I want you to notice is the word bootstrapped at the top. When you read bootstrapped, it basically means that the code is particularly long. It will consist of 13 boxes, and in the 14th box we'll need to add an exit code that we can get from this specific website. Don't worry, it's very simple and I'll show you later. The first thing to do is read the instructions. This code allows us to change the EVs of the Pokémon located in box 10, slot 19. But how do EVs work? In short, EVs are hidden values that our Pokémon gains by battling specific Pokémons. There are 510 total EVs, and that can be distributed across the 6 stats. Generally, for competitive play, 252 are placed in the most important stats, and the remaining 6 are placed in a less important stat to complete the total. Let's now see what we need to do for the website to return the correct code. Go to the PID line and enter the PID of the Pokémon we calculated earlier. Do the same with the TID and the SID lines below. Now, in the lines below, which contain the word new, we insert the new values we want. For my Aerodactyl, I put 252 EVs in attack, 252 EVs in special defense, and 6 EVs in HP. Now, move further down to the lines that say current. In these lines we leave everything at 0, but let me explain why. Here we would normally enter the current EV values of our Pokémon. However, since this Pokémon just hatched from an egg and presumably never battled, its EVs are completely 0. This also applies to any Pokémon that has just been caught or Pokémon that were leveled exclusively with rare candies, meaning they never battled. The important thing is simply that they have never fought. At this point, we just press compute, and as you can see, the website prints our 13-box code. Now, open the link to insert the exit code, and under the instructions, you'll find the line that must be inserted into box number 14. But that's not all. We also need to change the wallpapers of box 1 and 2 as indicated below. This changes depending on the language, so make sure to check out the correct instructions for your language. Let's go back into the game, place our Pokémon in box 10 slot 19 and insert all the codes we were given. Once you've inserted everything, I recommend saving the game before running them. Now, perform the double swap and go to the box where your Pokémon is to see how its stats have actually changed. Alright guys, we're almost there. At this point there's only one last step left, teaching the moves we want to our Pokémon. Let's go back to the website one last time, open the drop-down menu and select Teach Pokémon Any Move. This code allows us to very easily teach any move we want to any Pokémon. The only thing we need to do here is to go to the move line and type the name of the move we want to teach to our Pokémon. In this case I select Earthquake and I make sure to click the name that appears so it gets replaced with the move's index number. In the line below we can select the slot in which the move will be learned. I leave slot 3 since the order of the moves can easily be changed in-game later. Press compute and our code will be printed on the right side. Let's move back into the game and as usual insert it by renaming all the boxes with an A for the ones that we don't need, since the previous code used all the 14 boxes. Once finished, perform a double swap with our A's and the code will run. Exit the PC, put your Pokémon in the first position of your party, talk to the old man inside the Pokémon Center in Viridian City, and as if by magic, the move we want will be taught to our Pokémon. Repeat this process 4 times, and as you can see, our Pokémon will be ready to be unleashed. So, guys, that's the end of my tutorial on how to build competitive Pokémon using the A's in Pokémon Fire Red and Leaf Green Switch version. This tutorial, as I already mentioned, required a lot of time and study, so if you found it useful, please consider subscribing to the channel to support me. With that said, thanks for stopping by and I'll see you in the next one.